Welcome to Thursday's lesson. One more day, and then it's Friday.
We interrupt this lesson for today's important lesson objective.
Started. Today we're working on everyone's favorite word problems. And there's going to be 3 different varieties of word problems. Let's get started with the basic ones. These ones are going to be involving multiplication or division, and we're working with whole numbers here, so it's not too bad. So the first equation reads, a sports tournament has 7 teams. Each team has the same number of players. There are 21 players total. How many players does each team have? So to get started there, we want to figure out how much each team has. So I'm going to put this over in, blue works. Each team have. So that means we need to start with how many we have in total. That's going to be our 21. And we know that each team has, there are 7 teams. We want to figure out how many people are on each team. So that means we're going to have to divide. And usually when you have an equation that has that term each in it, that's a hint that you're going to end up having to divide. Or in some cases it might be that you have to multiply because they've already done that, but in this case we're trying to figure out how much each team has, so we're going to have to divide. So we have 21 divided by 7. We've also seen this earlier in the week written as 21 over 7, and we've also seen it written as 7 over into 21. Not bad. Let me mute this. All right. So the answer for each of these, no matter how we're written it, is going to be 3. 21 divided by 7 equals 3. 21 divided by 7 equals 3. And 7 into 21 also equals 3. And if we double check that here, if I have 7 teams and each team has 3, I can say I have 3 in this team, 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 and 3 in this team. I have a group of 7 teams in this weird shaped rectangle that I have. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. If I add those up, 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, or 3 times 7 is 21, so that checks out. Before I go on to the next example, time for a bad joke. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. No. Next equation, Brian went to a store and bought 3 items. Each item cost the same. He spent $12. How much did each item cost? So we know the total of $12. We want to figure out how much each of the 3 items costs. So let's start with our 12. And then for each, we want to make sure we're dividing here by the 3 items. And then we'll figure out the price of each one because we know that each item costs the same. So 12 divided by 3, we get an answer of 4. And we're done. I think the toughest part of these equations is figuring out if we're going to be dividing or if we're going to be multiplying. So next equation, you're going to try this one on your own. So why don't you read it first and try that now. All right, we're back. We have a group of 5 friends went to a sporting event. It cost $40 for each of them to get in. What was the total cost for all of them to get in? So the last 2 examples we did were division. This one's going to be multiplication because we want to know what the total cost is for all of them to get in. We don't know that information. We just know 5 people went. It cost $40 for each of them. So that means we're going to have 40 times the 5 people we have here. So 40 times 5, we're going to start with our 0 times 5. It's just going to be 0. 5 times 4, we get an answer of 20. And we find out the total cost is going to be $200 for all of them to get in. Now, if you had an equation like this over in Schoology, I would have something that says $ blank. And you would have to type in 200. So make sure when you're putting your answer in that you're not putting in that $ in front, otherwise it'll be marked wrong. I may go back and check these, but I also may miss them, and I don't want to see you get penalized for that. All right, let's go into the next type of example here. These types of problems are working with both the addition and subtraction and the multiplication and division. So let's read through the first problem here. At a carnival, Carlos bought 6 packs of 14 tickets each. He has used 36 of the tickets so far. How many tickets does he have left? So if we start with this one, first we want to figure out how many tickets Carlos has. He has 6 packs, and each pack has 14 tickets in it. So to figure out how many tickets he has in total, we have to multiply those two numbers. So I don't want to write it as 6 times 14, or I don't want to write it as 6 times 14. Instead, I want to write it as 14 times 6. I want to have the larger number up on top. So 4 times 6, I get an answer of 4. Actually get an answer 24, but I'm going to put the 4 on the bottom. The 2 gets carried to the top. 6 times 1 is 6, plus the 2 is 8. So I know that Carlos has 84 tickets, but he used 36 of the tickets so far. So if he used those, that means I have to subtract those tickets. So next to my 84 tickets, I'm going to say I'm going to subtract 36, and then from here I can do my subtraction. I can't do 4 minus 6, so I'm going to have to borrow from this 8. That means the 8 becomes a 7, and the 4 can then become a 14. 14 minus 6, I have an answer of 8. 7 minus 3, answer of 4. So the correct answer is 48 tickets. And just like the last example I showed you, in Schoology, the answer will be written down as blank tickets. And your job is to come over and put the number in there, so the only thing you would have to submit would be 48. You don't have to write 48 tickets, because then if it already says blank tickets, you're actually telling me the answer is 48 tickets. And that's not necessary. Let's do another example, but first time for another bad joke. What did the buffalo say when his son left? Bye, son. Get it? Buffalo are also known as bison. Bye, son. No. All right, not that funny. All right, on to example number 2. Have the Campbell family bought 9 bags of cookies. Each bag had 16 cookies. They have eaten 26 of the cookies. How many cookies do they have left? So first let's figure out how many cookies they have. They have 9 bags. How many are in each bag? 16 cookies. So we're going to take those two numbers and we're going to multiply them. 16 times 9. 6 times 9, I get 54. So the 4 comes down on the bottom. 5 gets carried up to the top. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 5, 14. So we know that the Campbell family has 144 cookies. That's a lot of cookies. They then eat 26 of the cookies, hopefully not all in one sitting. They're going to subtract 26 cookies because they've eaten them. They've eaten those cookies. 4 minus 6, I can't do that very easily, so it means I'm going to have to borrow from the 4 next to it, meaning this 4 then becomes a 3. 4 then becomes a 14. 14 minus 6, I get an answer of 8. Then the 3 minus 2 is a 1. 1 minus nothing is 1, so I know I have 118 cookies left. So when you guys are putting these answers into Schoology, again, it's going to say blank cookies. And you're just going to type in the number 118. You're not going to type in cookies again, because then it'd be 118 cookies. Nothing more that I like than cookies, but we're just going to leave it the way it is. There's one more example. I'd like you to try that one now. I'll pause it for a second. All right, let's go over this one now. Small theater had 7 rows of 23 chairs each. Workers just removed 9 of these chairs. How many chairs are left? So we know that there's 7 rows, 23 chairs in each row. We're going to start by figuring out how many chairs there are all together. So that means we need to multiply 23 times 7. So 3 times 7, I get an answer of 21. So the 1 is on the bottom, 2 is up on top. 2 times 7 is 14, plus the original 2 gives us 16. So with 7 rows of 23 chairs each, we have 161 chairs all together. However, the workers just removed 9. When we see remove, that means we're taking away. Another word for take away, subtract. So I'm going to subtract 9. And when I do that, 1 minus 9, I can't do that, so I have to borrow from this 6, making this 6 a 5. And this 1 becomes an 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. 5 minus nothing is going to be 5. 1 minus nothing is 1, so we have 152 chairs is what you should have had as an answer. Now on to the last type of example that you're going to see, word problems that have ratios and rates. So let's read the first problem here. We have, suppose 56 gallons of water came out of a pipe in 8 minutes. What was the rate in gallons per minute? So we want to figure out how many 1 gallons come out in per minute. So to do that, we have to take 56 gallons, 8 minutes. That means we're going to take this and say this is a 56 divided by 8. We could also write that 8 going into 56. Or we could write that as a fraction of 56 divided by 8. The case of each of these, that means we're going to have 7 as our answer. So the rate of gallons, there's 7 gallons per minute coming out of that pipe. And if we keep track of this, if the first minute, we'd have 7 gallons came out. Another 7 gallons come over in the second minute. Another 7 gallons would come out during the third minute. If we keep adding those up, 7 times 8, we should get that answer of 56. So it checks out. And again, when you're putting your answer into Schoology, it's going to have gallons per minute already written there, and there's going to be a blank in front of it. You just need to put that number in. So it's going to be 7 is your answer. Gallons per minute is ready to be part of the answer. So you don't need to put in 7 gallons per minute per gallon per minute. Too much. All right, before I go into the next problem, I have one more bad joke. I was sitting in traffic the other day. Probably why I was run over. If you're sitting in traffic, not in your car. Okay. Next problem. Lena reads 42 chapters of a book in 7 hours. What is her rate in chapters per hour? So if we have 42 chapters in a book she read in 7 hours, that is going to be written as a ratio, 42 over 7. We can also write that as 7 into 42. And when we go to divide that, the answer here is going to be 6. So again, the answer is going to show up as chapters per hour, blank chapters per hour. You're going to put in 6 as your answer. All right, I have one more problem I'd like you to try on your own. A group of work. Why don't you try that one now? Okay, you should have worked out your answer here. Group of workers can plant 40 acres in 8 days. What is the rate of acres per day? That's 40 over 8. 40 divided by 8. We can also write that as 8 going into 40. And your answer here should be 5. All right, that wraps it up for today. You have a short assignment to do after this video. To prove that you've watched this video, the key word today, the secret word, is going to be duck. So enter that in and you'll be all set. If you have any questions, stop by Zoom office hours. If not, I will see you guys on Monday. Or rather, you'll see a video of me on Monday. And there'll be a review assignment to tomorrow for the end of the week 5 review. All right, take care.